Coming to you live from my apartment, it's Rob Has a Podcast. And now, here's a man who's about to podcast about history. I'm Rob Cesternino. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our Big Brother 24 finale coverage on a night when Taylor Hale became the most winningest Big Brother contestant in the history of the show. The first Black woman to win Big Brother proper. Congratulations to Taylor, winner of the game, AFP, and our hearts. Here to talk about it, an incredible panel of potato chip eating podcasters. I normally don't like eating on a podcast, but I'll make an exception here tonight. Okay, back with us after a little bit of a hiatus. The winner of the BB24 draft, it's Melissa.
Thank you, everybody. I won a draft. I'm so happy. I was running around my house so excited when Taylor won. This was such a satisfying finale. Oh my God, it was just amazing all around. I was very, very nervous. I was sweating bullets. And then, I mean, what an end to a season. You would never have thought this would have happened week one. I mean, I certainly didn't. I loved Taylor. I was excited to see her on the show, but I thought for sure she's going out soon. And so I and even in the draft, I gave her like, oh, okay, I'm going to pick her just because I really like her. And, you know, if she wins, it'd be great. And never in a million years thinking this was going to happen. So this is amazing. And I'm so excited to talk. I'm very glad to be back.
Okay. Happy to have you back here. Now, here with us, of course, this was such a big night that she skipped Game of Thrones tonight to talk with us. Of course, from the wrestling wrap up, from Crime Scene. Mari Forth is here. Mari, how are you?
I'm good. I can't be better. I am so glad to skip all of that to celebrate the historic win of the first Black woman to win Big Brother. What this means to me, and I'm pretty sure so many other people, cannot be understated. I'm so glad to sit here and celebrate Taylor Hale as the winner of Big Brother 24, the main character, the diva, the alien superstar herself. Can't wait to get into it.
Incredible night. Excited to talk about it with you. Of course, the man who saw it every step of the way is here with us. Taran Armstrong. Taran, how are you?
Rob.
Queen's coming to get what's hers.
Yeah.
Let me take you back to a night on July 17th. July 17th, a Sunday night. I said this. Yeah, I got you here.
Queen's coming to get what's hers.
Yes.
Now
I like the DRs.
that sound clip, that's an investment. All right. Later in the season, the later we get, the more valuable it becomes. If on finale night I get to play that sound clip, I'm just saying, I'm basically a financial genius.
Okay.
You said it.
Taran, you did it. You did it.
I called my shot.
Drafted Daniel first.
Incredible.
Let's not forget.
Called my shot.
Yes. Well done, Taran.
Thank you.
And excited to talk about this night here with you. And then, of course, last but not least, with us here tonight, a man who, from the preseason, said Taylor is the winner of the season. Book it. It's Pooya and Eva Kelly. Pooya, how are you?
I am good. See this?
Yes.
You see
Yes.
that? You see that?
Okay. That was right off the bat. We did
Get out of my mentions.
Wow.
Okay.
Get out of the chat.
Okay.
A little
Done.
explanation.
Yes. That just
Reminder.
well, he's chewing. The backstory is
He just
that
loves chapstick.
yeah,
He
going
just
back.
wants
This was not even about Taylor. This was about Turner. It was really kind of a triple whammy for Pooya, who debated with Amon when he debated. For Amon had to pick either Turner or Indy in the draft. Pooya said, no, do not take Turner. Give Turner to the audience. If Turner gets to the final 5, I will eat a chapstick. Unprompted. No one asked him to do that. But also, Pooya said Taylor is going to be the winner of the season as soon as her bio came out, and said if you're drafting, Taylor is the pick. And then he had the chance to pick Taylor, and he picked Monty.
That I did.
He was this close to sitting here as the winner of the draft tonight.
Yeah, I can be very honest and say that we got to watch one night of feeds, And that one night was enough to make me feel terrified for Taylor's status in the game. The house was not kind to her. I was very worried for her. She wasn't looking like she's going to be in a good spot, so I didn't pick her. Ultimately, I have never been happier to lose in a draft, having one of the final two, so I'll take it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, enough about us and our drafting. Okay. It's Taylor's night. Let's talk about how it all happened. And I guess from the moment that Monty took Taylor, was there any doubt in anybody's mind that she was going to do this?
That she was going to win?
That she was going to win.
I mean, I think that between the previous jury segment they showed and the jury roundtable, the thing in particular in the jury roundtable was that Michael seemed very pro Monty in that jury roundtable. Clearly that was due to editing. And clearly they were trying to mislead us. But I think that definitely, for me at least, put an amount of doubt in there. I was still thinking that Taylor had the edge, but I was thinking it would probably be a lot closer than it was just based on that edit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, you can check my tweets. The moment Taylor won the final 3 HOH, I was like, I feel like I can feel it. I don't want to jinx it, but I can feel she's gonna make it to finale night and she's gonna win it. And then as the week continued, I was like, oh God, I got scared and the jury segments losing both part of the HOHs. I was like praying for my girl, but I did ultimately believe that Monty was going to take her. So I was rooting for Monty big time in that final 3. And so the moment he took her, I was like, at least she gets to advocate for herself. She can advocate for herself and she has a shot. And boy, did she turn that jury questioning out. I'm in awe. I want to say I never doubted her. I never doubted her. It was her cast. I completely doubted all season long. Never doubted her at all. But man, she was surrounded by some people. So I'm just so excited.
So as someone who was not keeping an eye on the feeds this week with the final 3, can anybody tell me that how much was Taylor working Monty? And specifically the idea that you need a big move. Taking out Turner would be a big move. I'm an easy beat. Did Monty sort of like twist himself up in this knot, or did Taylor contribute to that?
I would say it was a combination of both. And really, the decision was made last week in the Final Four when Taylor was the HOH at the Final Four and Monty won that veto. There was a lot of talk about them making a deal and getting to the end together, and that was the best move for them. Of course, there was some other stuff that happened at the same time. And so, it
works.
It was during that era. She really talked a lot about him taking her, choosing her, like, hey, if you're going to keep Turner, you'd better still be taking me to the final 2. And there was this narrative that grew about Turner that was like, hey, Turner is the biggest threat to win. And so, it kind of grew out of that. I would say that it wasn't like an active campaign to like trick Monty into taking her. It was more of a like, and this is sort of representative of her whole game the whole time. It wasn't like some big orchestrated strategic maneuver. It was more so just the relationship that she built with him and the fact that he consistently underestimated her. And that's really the story of her whole game.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about how Turner was the biggest threat in the game and the hardest to beat, and he's going to win for sure. And you could see that the jury clearly didn't follow that logic, but in the house, that was the narrative, was that Turner's just so good. He's made so many big moves. He's done this, that, and the other thing. And the jury just wasn't seeing it that way at all.
But where did that come from? Like, how does it in the house? It's this one idea. Oh, Turner's the best competitor, and I think that probably even hurt Monty that he kept repeating that, and what a big move it was to get rid of Turner. In the jury house, that he's a laughing stock.
I think a big part of it was that the jury or the people in the house did not see Turner's goodbye messages where he was like, "Yeah, that totally wasn't me. That was Monty." And in addition to that, it's kind of the positioning. Turner was the other option at the Final Four, and it was an entire week of Turner or Brittany. And you compare Turner to Brittany, and Turner seems like a slam dunk in comparison to Brittany in the final two. And you start thinking in that way, you're not really comparing Turner and Taylor because they're not competing that week. So you spend a whole week where it's Turner versus Brittany, and Brittany is selling the story, and it's very believable that Turner has a way better shot than her, and she's the better chance to win in the end for Monty because he can't beat Turner. That's the story she's selling him. She ends up believing it herself, even though previously she hadn't, and Monty ends up believing it, even Taylor ends up believing it, and just like that, a narrative has been crafted out of thin air.
Yeah, and Taylor not winning part 1 and part 2 really it really got her down like over the last few days, because the history of this game, especially for women, is you're being carried. You're always being carried. You always need a man to be carried, and that was the one thing she did not want to do. That was she explained in her speech, she did not ever want to feel like she was carried, especially by a man. But unfortunately, the circumstances of how the game unfolded, she needed to lean on her allies who at certain steps and just at the end there were men. But I think that her knowing that she needed to do something versus like her knowing that she could have upheavaled everything is what got her like the more respect. And how, when you look at the history of the game, you see the kind of the sexism, the misogyny. How do you not think that I don't have as good a chance against these two men who have won all these competitions since all we've known about modern Big Brother? Karen's been talking about it for years about how modern Big Brother now has relied on competition wins with a smidge of social games. So I don't blame her. And it's just funny that this has been like the worst read like the final three have had on the jury, because Monty saying that was his best move was just, the moment he said that, I was like, oh boy, it was not good for you.
I really thought that Taylor's closing speech was incredible. That if they revealed to us like, hey, actually Taylor was a lawyer, I think that would be believable as well. It's a little long, but I pulled it because I think that it was so good. So I want to play for you now Taylor's closing argument.
Jury members, I am someone who has won 3 competitions, 2 of them including HOHs. But I'm so much more than the wins I have had. I've proven that I can win and wield power, but I'm more than my wins in this game. Monty may have more blood on his hands than me, but as someone who has sat on this eviction block 6 times on an eviction night, I have bled out the most in this game. But I have bandaged myself together every single time and gotten up and continued to fight, because like so many other women in the world, that is what we have to do to get to the end. We have to take care of ourselves and put ourselves first, while also looking out for the rest of the ones who are behind us. I have been falsely accused and unjustly accused of using someone's mental health as a piece in this game, as someone's sick mother as a piece to use in this game. I've been called the B word so many more times in this house than I have in my real life. Not to mention, there was an attempted all-white alliance formed, and I had to sit on the block, was left on the block next to the person who tried to form that alliance. I have overcome so much in this game, and I've come to understand that I am not a shield, I am a sword. I am not a victim, I am a victor. And if there is one word that is going to describe the entire season, it is resiliency. And if you are to ask yourself who the most resilient person of this season has been, it is me. We can have the same Big Brother wins that we've had in the past, but I am challenging you, jury members. I thought I would humbly ask you for your vote, but I'm challenging all of you to decide what type of winner you want to have this year. Do we want the same thing where we see evictions and comp wins be the path to success? Or do we want a winner where we choose resiliency, we choose persistence as the reason to win this game? I have never given up on myself, and I refuse to do it tonight when I'm sitting next to such a strong competitor. Jury members, I am challenging you to make the hard decision and change the course of this game and choose progress for the course of this game. I can be the winner of this season, and I promise you will not do it in vain if you choose me tonight.
Thank you, Taylor. Thank you both.
And
oh my God.
What I think was so smart about what she did was just to sort of like reframe. I think that like we have sort of like, how many comps did you win? Like how many, like what was the moves that you made? And that's not necessarily like what the rules are. You don't tally up the score at the end of the game and see who had the most points from doing those things. You know, she wants to redefine why you vote for the person you do at the end of the game.
Yeah, she spoke to the heart of everything that was true about her game. To anybody that thought that she was carried through the game, or that this was some kind of other kind of win, like, she has an awareness of herself, the position that she was in the game, that is beyond anything that I have seen in the final two. I said about her in my final 3 game recap, before she even wrote that speech, I said, above all, it's her resilience that stands out. And that translated through her gameplay and her jury management. She never gave up on a relationship, no matter how damaged it was. She advocated for herself. Those allies that she eventually gained gave her the credibility she needed. She welcomed the people that came for her with open and forgiving arms. She turned bitter enemies into people that eventually gave her an 8-1 vote in the final 2. And that resilience, grace, and empathy was the key to the most unlikely win in the history of the show. That's what I wrote a week ago. And she wrote that speech about resiliency for tonight in the house. She recognized her position and what she was strong in the game in a way that nobody else has ever done in a final 2 speech like that. It's incredible that she was able to speak to that. She was able to speak to the thing I said about Monty, which is that he is every winner we have seen in the last 4 years, and speak to that and talk about making progress in Big Brother. It was an amazing speech. It is I think the best speech that I have ever seen in a final 2. And it was incredible.
Absolutely. It was just so fantastic. It completely covered what we all had been saying about her game and what we all had been seeing from the outside. But, so many times the person who's sitting in that chair doesn't recognize why their game was strong, or what the best moves they made were. It's very hard to see that when you're just sitting in the house. So, she could have easily just been like, look, I won HOHs and blah, blah, blah. And she didn't do that. She recognized that this is bigger than that. And it's about, defining the season. And that's the perfect way to talk to the jury as well, because so many times the jury is like, who do I want to represent me and our season as a whole? And what do we want the season to be about? What's the narrative going to be? And the fact that she touched on that and kind of got them to understand, if they didn't already, that this would, define the season as being about resiliency. And I just think that it was just so powerful. I loved listening to it. And I mean, so many times the house kids will prepare a speech in the house and it'll be just so bland by the time they get to finale night, because they're so nervous, or, they'll stumble on their words and it just they'll forget it, and they'll they just won't sell it as good or as well as they are selling it when they're practicing it alone on the feeds. And this was just, perfection. It was everything I wanted it to be and more. It was just so good.
It was from the heart. She didn't stutter. She said everything that she's felt for 3 months. This has all been going on. And, Taran brings up resilience. She brings up resilience. That is pretty much been the narrative, the story, the theme of everything that she is now putting out there in front of them. Within her first 2 sentences, she points out, winning the competitions does not matter. Anyway, here's my story. And her story is incredible. Again, we talked about this on the roundtable with Aman, Taran and I did last week, but she literally had to play the game on super hard mode from night 1. And was still able to bring it with grace, still smile, still get through it, change people's perceptions of her every step of the way, and then get there to the end in a very, very intense moment of, this is a win 750K moment I'm having, and just put it out there cool, calm, collected like it's nothing, but also do it all from the heart. I think hands down, this is the best speech we've seen at a final 2 ever. And I don't think it's close.
Agreed.
Taylor systematically ran down every bullet point that she needed to win the game, as Taran rightfully pointed out. But she also dragged the jury for filth. And for a minute there, I was like, ooh, I don't know, Taylor, but she told them about themselves and made them think about that, which, you know, people can bring that up as like, oh, are you guilting the jury? No, they need to be told about themselves because they did some messed up stuff. And for her to bring it up in her speech, but also bring it up in a way that wasn't vindictive, wasn't revengeful. Like she really was like, this happened to me, but it's okay because I got through it. Not okay, but you know what I'm saying? She's like, I got up from this. It was so good. The passion that she showed, we've seen this like on BB Can 6, BB Can 10, that passion, that voice rising. Like Monty messed up. He opened his speech talking about representation. Monty, I'm sorry. We've seen it all. We've seen it all. Even, and I hate to even say it, Xavier won last year. Like you can't just say, oh, I can be the representative, but then tout your competition wins. This isn't it. Taylor did everything that she needed to do. And 20 years after Danielle Reyes
To the
day.
Oh, wow.
Lost in the final two. And some people would arguably say she was one of the greatest players to never win. The jury picks who the jury picks. At the end of the day, the jury picks who the jury picks. So if Lisa can win, if anybody can win who people call like, oh, undeserving winners, Taylor can win. Anybody can win this game. And I love how she said that let's show them that you can play the game a different way because I'm sorry, all the people here listening, we all want to get into that Big Brother house. People who want to get in the Big Brother house, not everybody can get into the Big Brother house and play the mastermind strategy. That is not the only way to win this game. The fact that we keep trying to perpetuate that the only way you can win this game is either be the mastermind string puller or win 80 million comps because you can show something outwardly. That puts this social experiment into a hole. Somebody came out here. She used her social ability because that was the only thing that was afforded to her since she was misjudged and pre-labeled from the day she walked into the house. She turned it around. She made it to the final two. She had a target that was so big that it disappeared almost. And she made it. She stated why she needed to be there. She deserves that win. Anybody who gets the win deserves the win. Taryn's been saying that. You guys have all been saying that for years, and that is the truth. And I don't care all the trolls, anybody who disagrees, you can disagree if you don't think she should have won, but she won. She did it. She's also the most winningest Big Brother player of all time when it comes to money. She is one of the first people to win. Okay, no, let me back up. Let me let Taran handle the stats. I'm getting too ahead of myself, but I am so glad that she was able to pull this out. All she needed was a shot. She just needed a chance. And every week she gave herself a chance. She gave herself a shot by not going home, by staying resilient, by staying humble and graceful and working on people. So she deserves it because she won.
It's just, it means so much. Like, you know, I've invested so much of my life into this show. Like, it's ridiculous. It's dumb. You know, 20 years ago, Danielle, you know, loses the game. And it's such an incredible experience to see Taylor do this. You know, I haven't had like somebody win the show that has meant this much, not just for Taylor herself, but what she represents, in both like society and in the game and how it's played. It's such an incredible moment, I think, in the history of this show. And it brings me back to why I fell in love with it in the first place.
Yeah. And not to mention like how the season started. I mean, we were all, well, I'll speak for myself, I guess, but I was like ready to give up. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to podcast about this for the rest of the season. Honestly, this is bad. And it just was like, okay, we're doing this again. Like, this is what we're doing again. And we all just like fell in love with Taylor right off the bat, even from like the initial interviews. And then to see her treated the way she was treated. And then, oh, she's on the block and she's probably going to go home and like the first week and that's that. And then, you know, she sticks around and we're like, okay, well, one more week, but you know, like Amon gave her like a 10 in the stopwatch because we all thought like this is it for Taylor, but we love her, so we're gonna send you off with a 10, you know. And that's not. I mean, look at this. I never would have thought this would have happened ever. Yeah. I can't believe it. I mean, every time I looked at the draft, not to like bring it back to the draft, but every time I looked at like my draft picks compared to everyone else, I was like, oh yeah, there's no way I'm winning this. Like, yeah, there's no way. Taylor's not winning this. Like, and the other people, no way. So I'm just completely shocked. It's such a great feeling. We all feel so vindicated, or at least like I feel vindicated. I feel like I just feel like Taylor was so like joyful and happy in this finale. And it just felt so good to me to see her finally, you know, get what she deserves, which is the win. And also America's favorite house guest. She needs to know how loved she was. I mean, I haven't seen the fan base and even like people outside of the fan base all united in a cause like I've seen this past week with the America's favorite house guests voting. I mean, I just feel like there was just this huge outpouring of love and support. And I hope that now she realizes that, you know, she has so much love out here, and all the people in the house were saying, well, yes, obviously now, but all the people in the house who were, you know, just like saying all this stuff about her, like, that's not what we see. And we saw the live feeds and we know who she is. And we're all I'm just so pleased.
I guess what I'm confused about is that it seems so obvious to us. I know we're outside of the house and we have the feeds and the shows and everything, but it seems so obvious that, okay, if she got to the end, she was going to be able to tell this story of her journey. And it seemed like that never occurred to anybody in the house that she was going to be able to make this into a strength.
Alyssa tried to warn them. When Alyssa was on the vlog, she was saying against Taylor, she said, I can't speak for shit. I can't speak without crying. She is going to crush that final 2 speech. She comes from pageants. She knows how to make great speeches. She is going to crush whoever she sits next to. And they all ignored it. And again, it is just the perfect representation of what Taylor's game was, that they completely underestimated her. The way that Monty and Turner talked about Taylor in these final weeks was, you know, there was a modest amount of like, well, she has a good story, so she might be able to win some votes. With the assumption that, like, we both know she's easier to beat. And they did not anticipate, they did not realize just how much she would be able to not only crush them in a final 2 speech, but I mean, given the jury vote count, I would imagine they came in there already expecting to vote for Taylor if she was sitting there. So I think she had already swayed those minds and just really brought it home in fantastic manner at that final 2.
I think they totally underestimated her. I think they underestimated her the whole game, really. I mean, every week it was like, well, okay, we're not going to get Taylor out this week, but like, we'll just get her out next week. Like, that's fine. It doesn't matter if we get this week, next week, who cares? We'll get her out soon. And they just didn't see the snowball, you know, starting to build of like, oh, she keeps staying, she keeps surviving, she keeps, you know, this is her story, this is her thing. And, you know, even, yeah, like Taran was saying, all the way into the end, they were just like still underestimating her and still thinking that she wasn't going to win and that she didn't have a shot. And, you know, it is surprising to see that. But I guess like in the house, especially, I think she did do a good job of, you know, downplaying everything that she did and kind of saying, oh, well, there's no way I'll win. Like you obviously would beat me, or like, I can't beat Monty or whatever, you know, saying stuff like that the whole time. And I think that probably, you know, the more you start to hear that, the more you start to believe it. So I'm sure that had an impact, but just still, it was just being underestimated.
So this is clearly Taylor's night. But I do want to talk about Monty and Monty's decision, because I think it is a worthwhile question to ask. Did Monty make the new biggest blunder in the history of the show? He takes Taylor and loses 8-1. Was not even close.
Mm-hmm.
If he takes Turner, does he win 9-0?
Probably pretty close, I would imagine.
Probably at least 8-1. Yeah.
To defend Monty in this
I think you're going to
situation.
defend Turner again.
Well, I am going to. I am going to. But
Yes.
this is part of it. To defend Monty, I personally was a little surprised that the entire jury was thinking so little of Turner's game. I think Turner played a good game. I don't think he played the best game. He obviously made mistakes.
Was it mid?
I guess you could say that, or I guess Julie might say that. I think like he did play a good game, but clearly the jury didn't see it that way. I thought they'd give him more credit because I do think he made some big moves. I do think he was always in the room and was a strong player. Obviously, I do think Taylor's a stronger player. And I think she obviously would have won it if sitting against him. But I think like I could see Monty's logic there because I don't know. I am surprised that the jury was so down on his game to the point where they like laughed when they brought up Turner. Can Turner win this game? Or what do you think of Turner's game? I really wasn't expecting that.
I do agree, Melissa. He definitely was in the room.
Right. Asleep.
He was also there. Yeah.
Asleep apparently. Yeah. I mean, Turner clearly we've been saying it all season. He was such a pushover. He did everybody's bidding. I remember the first 3 weeks of the season where we had a week HOH after a week HOH after a week HOH with Daniel, Jasmine, and Turner in succession. None of the three of them took the game by the like reins, which is why their HOHs were driven by different people. You know, Daniel for like Monty or Paloma, Mira drove Jasmine's, and of course the leftovers drove Turner's. But even the Michael move, we saw it. Like Turner didn't want to make that move. Like I don't blame them because if you're gonna make these moves as a player, as HOH, when veto and stuff like that, like you can't be timid and do it, and then in your goodbye messages be like, "Hey, you know, it's cool, peace and love." Like if he would have owned up to it, then maybe he would have won. But I don't even think he could have owned up to it because all he really had all season was just like they said, latching on to somebody and then helping the team, latching onto people. Look at me. Oh God, I'm getting worked up. And just riding the coattails. If anybody got carried, it's Turner. I'm sorry. Like Turner was the one who got carried. Turner was the one who, you know, he made the moves for other people. And I mean, it got him as far as it could get him, but you know, it just looked better to cut him to Monty because they were blinded by the comps of it all, the comps. They were blinded by what has worked in the past and not have realized what this season in particular was about.
Yeah, and that's what it's about, right? Is that to the jurors on their way out, they're seeing a passive player who then has one chance to be like, no, this was all me. This was Turner TM, baby. I did this all. But he's coming and he's like, I don't know. Like, I didn't want you to go, but like it happened. Or, you know, with Kyle getting renommed, with Michael being part, he's like, if everyone else wants it, I'll do it. Like, that is not a playmaker. That is a play taker. He takes the play, he'll run it because you want him to do that. But then to go back to Rob's original question about whether or not Monty fumbled with this decision, and if it's one of the worst ones, 1,000%, right? 1,000%. I think he was warped by the perception of, well, Turner won more comps, and then surface level, the HOHs Turner ran. They took out Michael. That's a big one. They did that. He won the final 3 HOH. So now he's my main competitor, my final boss, if you will, in the final 3 HOH. You put all of that together, I can see why he looked at it that way. But ultimately, he would have won hands down tonight versus Turner. And it's not close. Like, it would have been, even with the answers he gave, he would have won. And I don't think his answers were like bad. But I mean, compared to Taylor, they were very bad, right?
Was it mid?
Yeah.
Pretty mid.
But I'm
That's the one.
I still think Cody's is bad because I mean Cody cut Victoria. I mean,
Yes.
Victoria.
Yeah, I
versus
feel like that's
Derek.
an
I feel that's
easier-
still worse.
Cody
Yeah.
California was bad for sure. But like Cody California had like a pact with Derek of like, hey, me and you to the final two. This would have
So?
been like, but this would have been like that Monty broke his pact with his final two to do
like,
this.
Cody chose friendship and loyalty over the win, and there
He
was
stabbed his friend in the back to do this.
Right, like that's where, and that's why that's what I had always said about Cody's decision. Because I do feel like the easier path for Monty was to stay true to the deal he had made and take Turner. That was the path. That was the easy one. That was like it's very hard to veer off of that path. He took the hard choice to jump off of the path into the void. Like.
Although to be fair, it would have been bad either way for him. Like I feel like there was no winning because he had made the final two deal with Taylor as well and had been like promising that to her and also talking up having, you know, a black man and a black woman in the finale. Like I feel like if he cuts her, then he's also in a bad spot.
Well, he
Like,
didn't
so I don't
need to
feel like
talk that up, especially when she loses part
of course
two.
not. Of course he didn't need to talk that up. But I'm just saying after that, at that point, by the end, when he's about to, you know, make his decision, it's like either way, someone's not thrilled. And I guess like I think in terms of gameplay, I think obviously he made the wrong choice because he lost. But I think in terms of friendship, it's probably for the best because Turner seemed to be generally pretty chill about like the decision.
Yeah. I feel like with these decisions that, you know, you want to take a person who has played like a similar game to you where you have like an advantage. Like it was, you know, similar, but Monty won much more, many more competitions that he was clearly seen as sort of like the person who was the leader in that duo. Where by taking Taylor, he really gave the jury somebody who was like in contrast to him in a lot of different ways and gave them like a person that they could vote for to be an anti-Monty vote, where if they didn't want to vote for Monty, they had somebody who they can go in an opposite direction of what Monty was about. Whereas it would be hard to be, you know, anti-Monty and vote for Turner.
His perception of her was just way off. I mean, he spent the last 2 weeks talking about how, you know, there was a reason they treated her the way that they did in the start of the season. There was a reason why Zingbot called her cold. Like he bought into that narrative and thought that was what he was going to get in the final two, that he was going to get them being like, yep, she's cold. She didn't win many comps. We just don't like her very much. And we love Monty. And that was not what he got.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Like the chat is pointing out, misogyny wins the day, I guess, loses the day, all of the above. And then with a side of Taylor's karma, he just he couldn't see the forest through the trees. And like I said, his ego really got in the way. And again, when you have so much evidence of this is how this game normally goes and who the player normally gets the win, I truly don't blame him for seeing this. Because I truly do. I think if I was a player in that game, it would have confused me. I don't think I would have been able to tell that Turner wasn't as respected by the jury. So I can't really like truly fault him for that. Like Karen said, Brittany like really talking him up. So I'm glad he made the wrong decision. Yeah.
Well, here's some other sort of information, because again, like I said, Monty winning this game would have been very much in line with what we normally see. Taylor losing this game would have been very in line with what we normally see. Talking about stats, Mari, Taylor is the person who the winner who has survived the most eviction nights on the block. More than anybody else, 6 times. So even if you don't count the first night because you never actually went to a vote, it's still 5 times, which is still the most. More than Dr. Will, more than anybody else, at 6 times more than anybody else by a decent margin. She also is going to join an exclusive club of Dr. Will, June, Song, and Maggie. I don't remember her last name. as winners that won fewer than 3 competitions in the entire. She won 2 competitions. Maggie and June, I think both won 2 competitions. Dr. Will, of course, won 0. And except for those luxury ones. And she also joins Maggie as the second winner to ever not be competing in part 3 of the final 3 HOH, be brought to the final 2 and go on to win the game. And of course, the first Black woman to win the game, Big Brother. She also, and this would have been true for any of them, is the winner who has watched the least amount of Big Brother, the show, since Hayden Moss. Even then, she got into the show. She watched a bunch of it. She knows about Daniel Ray. She knows about June. She knows about all these players now. So it's not like she's like recruit level player, but still. Just a bunch of stuff here, including that being on the block stat, I think is huge. Usually, if you see somebody on the block time and time again, they become looked at as a pawn. They don't have respect in the game. It cannot be overstated just how successful she was at countering that narrative from the very beginning all the way through the game. As she continued to find herself on the block, she still was able to win the respect of the house, to the point that she beat Monty, who was immune from Final 6, which is pretty wild. From Final 6 on, Monty won every single competition. That is a very impressive stat in the history of the show as well. And she still crushed him in a jury vote. That is the strength of her social game and how she was able to counter these narratives. And so, yeah, to a degree, I can see why, if you think about it in that way, you might not have expected Taylor to win. But despite that, I think if you look at Taylor and you look at how she has handled being on the block and you look at how she has handled playing the game, I think you should have been able to recognize that she was doing some things that were not typical of this kind of gameplay. And that is what I think brought her the win.
Yeah.
How do we think Taylor's win changes the trajectory of Big Brother? Taran, you and I were talking about this a little bit yesterday on the BB Q&A. And I feel like that at that point we were talking about a little bit about okay, well, like even if Monty wins, how are we looking at this? But now that she is the winner of the season, like how does this change things for production, and how do future players come into the game now after Taylor has had this amazing journey?
I think it's fascinating, and I'm super excited to see where the show goes from here, especially with what happened in Big Brother Canada this year as well. I mean, there's been a huge paradigm shift in the way that people have successfully played the game this year in Big Brother. And I think that it could have all kinds of different ramifications. We worst case scenario could see like the bros who win all the comps really bunker down and be like, we got to make sure we get all of them out so that we don't see this happen again. Or we could see a game,
get her out.
Right. We could see a game where competitions are not held as the be all end all of gameplay in Big Brother, of jury management in Big Brother. I made a series of podcasts a few years ago about jury management. And the thing that I said the most was the best jury management that you can do, barring anything else, is just win comps. Because if you win comps, people will respect your game more, and it will be a lot easier to do all the other stuff. And twice in a row now, we have seen that winning comps is no longer enough, at least in the current status quo of Big Brother. And I don't know where it's going to go from here, but I'm excited to watch and find out.
Yeah, I'm hopeful and optimistic, because the reason I got into this show was that the way I looked at it, there's 3 main facets of the game. There's social, there's strategic, and there's physical. And when the show veered into physical being dominant, it's hard not to reward that physical dominance if someone is literally winning everything. I hated that era. I don't like that era because that is, if I ever played, I'm not winning anything. Let's be real. Okay, I'm not built to win stuff. The strategic, the social maneuvering, that's what intrigues me. So to have a winner represent the social side of things in this era specifically, you know, Taran has now for weeks been talking about how the last 4 winners all literally had the exact same trajectory Monty had. So coming into tonight, Monty's looking to be the favorite. For that to be shattered, I'm hoping we are leaving that big moves comp era behind and we're going into a new greener pasture where anyone can get it. Anyone can have a shot here. And if you play the tools in your arsenal, right, if you're not a comp piece and you can play that to your strengths, you can get rewarded for it. Because I think that is part of what this show has been for me, and it's part of what I want to see in the show, and it's just more fun, quite frankly. It just is. I'm tired of seeing, because you know I've said this tonight, one of the things that I'm expecting to see in the days to come is people looking at Taylor's win and trying to minimize it by being like, Monty should have won, he won all these comps, he's been dominant, he took out Michael. And quite frankly, you know, Mari said this earlier, she deserved the win, she got the win, she got the jury, end of story. But we need to validate that more. That needs to be understood more. It needs to be accepted more, because again, not everyone's coming into this game with that physical capability at like an 8. Most people are coming in at a 4, at a 5. And to see more of that, Rob, I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful for seasons to come.
People that don't understand what happened in this game between Kyle, who was very strategically dominant for a little while, getting just crushed by the weight of his actions, to Taylor coming in and winning. The people that don't understand that, they're like, but that's the good gameplay. Why didn't that get rewarded? Those are the people that would go on to this show and not be able to adapt, because this is the new era. This is the new paradigm. This is the new way that the game is played, and you need to adapt to how people approach the game. The game is not set. There are no rules for what you have to respect and what you have to vote for and how you have to play and what is most successful. Ultimately, it's the players that decide what works and what doesn't work. And the players decided this season that this is how they wanted to play the game. And you know, we could see that echoing forward into the future, or we could see it, you know, reverting back. We will find out. But for this season, this is how it worked, and any good player would recognize that.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen a lot of takes recently that are like, I mean, maybe they're just trying to be edgy or something. I don't know. But they're like, well, Taylor did nothing all season. And, you know, any other season, you'd be saying,
what did you do, sir?
Yeah, exactly. And that's just, I mean, if you don't think Taylor was playing the game and was very impressive with her gameplay, like, I mean, I don't know how to help you. I mean, look at what she was able to accomplish, especially with all that adversity she was facing. It's not about being in power all the time. It's not about being the strongest player each week. Like, it's about making your way to the end and carving your own lane. And, you know, she was able to do that. She didn't need to be the strongest person. She didn't need to be HOH every week. Like, she was able to accomplish that through different means. And those means are just as good and just as good a strategy as winning a bunch of competitions. So I think, like, you know, if you're not recognizing that, then like, I think you may be only seeing one type of gameplay as like the correct way to play. And I think that, like Taran said, like now people are, you know, hopefully starting to realize that like there are many ways to win this game. And it's not just about, well, this is the classic Big Brother strategy and that's what you have to do. And if you don't do that, then like, okay, this win is wrong. That has nothing to do with that here. Like she won and she deserved that win.
You know, I really thought it was a missed opportunity tonight. You know, they bring back Dr. Will this season for the jury roundtable, and I'd love to talk more about that segment. But you had Dr. Will there, who literally invented the gameplay style of not winning any competitions. And I really wish that, like, when they're talking about that, you know, well, I didn't win any competitions, you know, but Dr. Will has never been HOH.
Yeah, well, I think if you had said that, they would have been like, wait, you played?
Hey, who are you? Who are you? No, that's what I kind of was alluding to early, Rob. Like Dr. Will, I'm not going to sit here and compare Taylor's game to Dr. Will because they played two very different games in a sense. But Dr. Will not winning any games, having the target so large that like two different sides of the house were like, we'll take this side out first because they can always take him out. That's almost exactly kind of like what Taylor was balancing. Taran rightfully pointed out that in week 2, they all kept her because the women thought she'd go after Monty and the guys thought we can get her to go after the women. Like playing that middle, like socially playing that middle, and letting people think that they have you, that is a strategy. You know what I'm saying? Letting people think that you are working for them when you aren't, that is also a strategy. And like I think Melissa said, like adapting, and Taran, adapting was what she had to do because she was the only person who came into the game and was immediately given nothing to work with. And she said it herself. She thought she was going to come in, play like kind of like Janelle, be cold-hearted, be like, she thought she was going to do all of these things. And she was just forced into this box where she had to just fight for every inch of just being able to talk to somebody without them sneering at her, talk to somebody without them turning their backs to her. Like she had to grasp every inch just to try and get any type of social capital that she could, so that by the time that the end came, she was able to spend that capital by talking about her resiliency. So I just don't understand how people can just completely write off her game. But I hope Taran is right. I hope this is a new era. And it kind of makes me think of like The Circle, the past season of The Circle, when Taran was talking about it. Frank won The Circle just by being the most popular guy. Like it was he literally did it because everybody liked him. There was almost no strategy to it, but that was the game. And this is kind of the name of the game too. This is a social game. At the end of it, if they feel good voting for you, if they feel good that you're the representative of the season, I mean, you're the winner. You're the winner. That's all I can say. Nobody can take this away from her. Like all of y'all can try, you can send all your hate, you can do all of that, but she did it. She won. She is in the history books for multiple things that Taran pointed out. It's done. It's over. Cry about it.
Adapting to what the game throws at you, realizing that you've adapted, actually knowing what you're doing with adapting, recognizing your game, and then articulating your game to the jury at the end. If you do these three, if you know who you are in this game and you do these three, you should be given the keys to the season. You should be given to represent the season as the winner. And she did it. She's the one who did it.
Yeah, and I don't want to say that it's exactly the same like Survivor 42, but I think that you could make some parallels, certainly where Marianne had like the much more like impassioned final tribal council in that season. You also had the scenario where, you had other players who were maybe the bigger strategists of the season who sort of had gotten taken out, and Mike was sort of like the de facto person who made it to the final 3, who had the best resume, but up against the person who was coming in that was more universally liked by the jury. That person was able to just steamroll to a big victory in the finals.
Yeah.
I'd love to go back to the 8 votes for Taylor and just talk about some of the surprising keys that were in the box.
I think I was fairly surprised with Terrence, and I think that Taylor was very surprised with Terrence as well.
He was.
So, yeah, I mean,
she was.
It seemed, I guess I wasn't so surprised after seeing like the round table and kind of the questioning and the way that people were kind of moving towards that. You could kind of see the momentum building. And so I guess I wasn't totally surprised when Terrence voted for her, but I mean, I was pretty surprised. I really didn't expect that from him. And I also feel like he also kind of indicated this during the jury roundtable or during the interview or something, where he said like he never was able to connect with Monty, which I thought was like surprising because I thought that they were very connected. Weird. So, and they were just like chatting all the time, up until Terrence went home. So I was very surprised that he said that. But I guess that helped to make me understand like maybe why he voted for Taylor instead. Yeah.
They did have a rocky relationship. I mentioned during Monty's game recap that it really wasn't until the Kyle stuff came out that like him and Terrence really started having like deeper conversations and bonding more and working together more. And at the same time, it was also like, I think that moment kind of bonded them a bit. And at the same time, Terrence also had lost now Kyle, Daniel, Nicole, everyone else he was trying to work with. And so it was kind of by default that he was working on Monty. Their relationship with never was like that solid. For me, the biggest indication of where the jury was going to go happened immediately when they introduced the jury, which they're in the backyard, which was weird. Like the planes were coming over and interrupting the whole thing. That was a whole weird thing. But when Michael said that he expected Turner to come out because Monty was the best competitor and he expected that Taylor would be able to convince Monty to bring her there, I immediately knew, okay, he is talking from Taylor's point of view here. He was talking about this being Taylor's move. And the reason why I was like, uh-oh, when Michael seemed very pro-Monty in the edited jury segment roundtable was because it was very clear earlier today, there was an EW with Dalton Ross interview that was released where every single member of the jury said that Michael was the person who played the best game, except for Michael, who said Joseph. And that was like, that makes it clear. Michael's opinion is going to matter more than anyone else's. Michael is also the person on the jury, other than perhaps Brittany, who was the closest to Taylor throughout the game. So if he's pro Taylor, that's going to have a lot of weight for some of the people that are already undecided. I think that there were already people like Joseph, Indy, and Jasmine that already were on Taylor's side. But people like Terrence and Kyle, I think they probably needed some persuading. And if Michael was on board with that, and Joseph and Indy and Jasmine, I think Joseph was another person that probably had a lot of sway on that jury. That I think that at that point they kind of fell in line and were like, you know what? We're with you. If you say this, we will trust you. We will go with you. We're not going to be, votes that stick out here. We don't care that much. So I think they ultimately went with the majority. And of course, Turner not being in the jury, not being at the round table, didn't get the script. So.
Yeah, this is prediction if Turner was went out final 5. Oh, if everyone's going to do it, I'll do it. That's fine. I'll vote Taylor. That sounds good to me. So,
yeah. Also, Kyle votes for Taylor over Monty. Anybody else surprised that was the way that he went, or did he just read the room?
I think he read the room. He read the room. I think he would have been inclined to vote Monty if the rest of the house or jury was seeing it that way. But I think he read the room just like Terrence, and went, I'm down. I'm not making any big stands here. If that's what you guys say, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Very interesting after a rash of 5-4 votes, of 2 or 3 years of that. And then all of a sudden now it's all blowouts all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It's a trend
Last
for sure.
2 years.
The jury loves to get on the same page. It's a lot. I think for a couple of reasons. One is that there's a ton of them in there. It's a lot easier to get swept up in groupthink when there's 9 people or 8 people there. And in addition to that, it's a long period of time that you're with these people and bonding with them. And then in addition to that, if you're the sole vote going a different direction, or maybe there's 3 votes going in a different direction, then when you get out of the house and people disagree with you, you really stand out. If you voted with 8 other people and you got it wrong, then it's oh, sorry, we all messed up. It was a whole thing. So there's a little bit of risk management there, I think, as well.
Can we talk about some of the other highlights or lowlights of this 2-hour show? We got to see everybody reunited, and we even brought in 4 of the pre-jurors, where we got to see Pooch, Amira, Nicole, and Daniel come back to the stage. First time in a couple seasons. Yes, all the pre-jururs.
Nobody else.
Yeah, no mention of Paloma the entire night, other than when Taylor said that she was accused of taking somebody's using somebody's mental health as I forget how she said it, but we got those 4 coming back. Nicole did not get to talk. No question for Nicole.
Nope.
Very sad.
Okay with that.
Yeah. And so we got to get some questions for them. Was there anybody that we were excited to see?
Of the pre-jury?
Yeah.
No.
Can we talk about Amira?
Please.
The hater? Yes.
I've been waiting. It's been an hour.
I mean, was this agreed upon? Like, did she take some like money under the table to ask this question?
Nope.
This was so messy
Petty.
to call out
Petty.
Taylor and Monty. Man, especially, after Taylor had said this about Joseph.
We're going to have a chat and a stiff cocktail later.
Whoa.
Mhm.
I know.
They're
It's,
like
there's
flirting.
Oh, defo. You can edit that onto the background a bit.
Amira was like, "This stops now."
Yeah, but I'm surprised. Like, why did they even bring them on? I mean, they haven't brought on the pre-jurors the last couple of seasons. There wasn't any like.
I think it was just the live audience, like the fact that now that we have a live audience again, it's like COVID.
I guess
they're
so.
like, whatever.
Oh, maybe that's why they were in the backyard, probably.
Yeah, asked them the 3 questions that they asked, like Pooch. How does it feel to know that pooching yourself is part of the vocabulary, which it's not.
Yeah. The pre-jury got the same amount of questions as the final 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't really know why they asked any questions of them. I feel like for the most part, usually when the pre-jury gets asked questions, it's because like we all miss them and we like want to get their takes on the season. But
Yeah,
right.
This was a little surprising how much time they spent with them. I guess I thought that Pooch's answer was pretty funny.
It went on for an hour.
Well, yeah, I mean, I really that's really what I can say about that. I'm sure that they like asked Amira told Amira to say something like about the relationship, because it'd be like, let's see what Joseph says.
Shady. Like, you don't act like you don't know they've stopped this and that they've like broken things off. Like, you knew full well when you said that. That was not necessary to bring up in this forum. Really taken away from the entire moment by making it about that. I hated this so much.
I will say I do feel like I appreciated that they were actually talking about some things, like for instance, when Joseph revealed that he was a lawyer, and he talked about like what happened in Direfest. First of all, I don't know who caught this, but when Joseph revealed he was a lawyer, this is in the background, but listen to what Taylor says.
So I am a personal trainer, but
like a personal injury lawyer.
I am a personal trainer, but
very funny. And I love that Julie was like, so how do you feel about that, Taylor? Like, give us a reaction. Like, I like that. That was like a tiny little taste of what it would be like to actually have a reunion show.
I don't know. Like, why are people acting like lawyer is like, well, I actually go to space every day. Melissa, like that, lawyer is wonderful, right? But it's not so uncommon. There are many lawyers, right?
Yeah, Melissa actually has some news to share with us tonight.
Yeah, I'm actually a personal injury lawyer.
What?
It's wild. I know.
Wow.
No, actually not. But I think that the whole like hiding you're a lawyer thing, like first of all, like Rob, it's impressive. So like let's just say that I am impressive.
Mm-hmm.
But I think also it's like this I guess like stigma, but I guess it's in a good way that when you say you're a lawyer, people automatically think like you're smart. And like that, I mean, that's not necessarily true, but like, it gives this like indication that like, oh, you're smart, you've got brains, you're going to do really well in this, like in Big Brother or whatever. Like you have the strategy there. Whereas like, it's probably better to go in there. I mean, like I probably wouldn't say I was a lawyer if I went on the show. I think that
what would you say?
There is that stigma attached to it. I don't know what I would say.
Voice actor.
I was gonna say like maybe I'll do that voice actor thing, but I feel like that's already
people have used it before. As a fake occupation.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't help that Xavier was like a lawyer like last year.
Right.
Like that's is kind of a
bartender.
Yeah. So and plus like now that it's especially now that it's like okay, every lawyer that goes in the house doesn't say they're a lawyer. Like I don't know. Like I think I probably would lie about it. I probably would. I would say someone in the chat said, say you're a podcaster. Can't say that either, because then it's like, what do you podcast about? And I only podcast about Big Brother, so like can't say that. So I don't know. I think that I get why they lie about it. But I think it's rude, Rob, that you're saying that being a lawyer isn't special.
Wow.
It's special. It's just not so uncommon. I feel like there's a couple lawyers on every season, right?
Yeah, but they all lie about it. So,
I guess so.
It's not like, oh, there's been a ton of lawyers and they've
Let's
all
just
sucked
change
at
the
this
name of the
game.
show to Secret Lawyer.
Yeah, I mean, at least they're not a salesperson, Rob.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. Pageant queens are now going to have to start.
Yeah, they have to lie.
Well, hard to lie about that when it gets leaked ahead of time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
True.
that's true.
I also like Nicole. Nicole didn't get any questions or anything, but when she went to hug Taylor, I feel like she was like trying to apologize or something, because I'm like, I was looking at the body language and I was like, this is Taylor's moment. Can we just like not? The pre-jury did not at all say anything about their treatment of Taylor. So if you weren't there for that, then I did not need anything from them. And I didn't need it. I didn't need it.
That's a very good point that I didn't even think of. Like, how many of them came out of the house talking about like, well, you know, I'm gonna watch the show and make some amends. Like, this was their opportunity. Far and away their opportunity. As Taylor wins the game, for them to be like, you know what? The beginning of this game was really unfair to Taylor, and we had a big part of that, and I really just want to take this opportunity on national, the last time I'll probably be on national television, to apologize for my role in it.
Well, that points certainly there. And freaking Daniel, where he's like, oh, boring season, and then the whole time he's been out of the house, like, oh, this season is boring. And then they asked him, so was it still a boring season? He's like, yes, but it got so good. It got so good. Yeah.
Just end the season.
Not only that, he's still been like throwing shade at Taylor on the outside. So who can we get the people who did what they did to Pooch to get him to? Is that out of the question? Not advocating for violence though, but yeah.
What happened to Pooch?
He got
I think that was
beat up like
I think that was
the game.
What? I think that I'm not sure if that really happened. I feel like that might have been a prank by whoever was running his social media.
Well, can we make it all true? No, I'm just playing.
Fan fiction.
All right, okay, let's calm down.
Seeing the end credits with like all of these pre-jurors lining up to hug Taylor, I was like, yeah, you should be hugging Taylor, and you should count your lucky stars that they didn't point out the nonsense y'all put out there towards the winner of the season. I was like, Julie, forget Pooch Pooching himself. So let's talk about the stuff they've said. You've got the tapes. Roll the tapes. Can we get some reactions? Please. That would have been more compelling to me.
I want to ask a question about, we talked a little bit about Joseph, and then I was surprised that this was the first thing that came up, where they were talking about Dyer Fest. Did he throw Brittany and Taylor under the bus? And he said, no, absolutely not. I did not do that. No way. Was that how many Pinocchios for that?
Yeah, that was a little bit of a lawyer answer. I think that's why Taylor says
we're gonna have a chat and a stiff cocktail later.
The thing is, he did say those things. I think what he's trying to say is that he didn't mean it maliciously, and I don't think he did. I don't think he was trying to throw Taylor under the bus. The impact was that it threw her under the bus. But even then, like, not as much Taylor as Michael and Brittany. And so I think that he was just trying to, and hearing him describe it now, like, it was difficult to really figure out what the reason was. I think he was trying to do is say, like, hey, look, I'm willing to give up dirt on them. So totally not going to be with them. It had the opposite effect. They were like, well, he's just in alliance with them. So like, even more vote him out. But I think the essence of what he's saying is true, that like he wasn't trying to throw Taylor under the bus in any way. The impact, though, maybe not as much.
Yeah, Terrence vouched for him. Terrence's hat was out of control. It was so bright, I think it broke my TV.
Yeah, the orange fedora. Bowler hat, fedora?
Terrence's hat was the sun. It was so incredibly bright and orange. You couldn't even look at it for that long.
It was a lot. It was a lot. It was loud.
Yeah. Any other things that came out? I can't believe we talked about the muffin. I guess we have to talk about the muffin again, but does Jasmine have to pretend to be like, what? I knew it.
Yeah.
How long has she known about the muffin? She's known about the muffin for 2 months.
she's known about that.
They gotta bring it up.
I do want to talk a little bit more about the final 2 questioning. First of all, it wouldn't be a finale podcast if I didn't make sure to complain about how terrible the final 2 jury questioning is.
Yes.
Can I say just it was crazy that Julie is like, all right, does everybody agree on the questions? Does everybody agree on the like how could they even agree on them? The questions were written before there was even a final 2.
Exactly. And it's
they
like
were the most vanilla basic questions that you could write.
Yeah. There were 50 minutes left in the episode at this point. And they're like, so we can do 3 questions each for the jury members, or for the final 2. Wouldn't it be great if it was for the jury members? And so then they have to read off of these cards. Now, I do think, I will say, I will say that I do think they did a better job than normal with giving the questions to the appropriate person. For instance, Brittany asking Monty about when did you risk your game? She thought he played a safe game. She was asking that question. Michael giving Taylor, an alley-oop or whatever you call it, teeing up. Yes. And so I do think that the questions seemed a lot more appropriate as opposed to like last year where I feel like it was like, I don't think Tiffany even asked a question. And it was just like random people were asking random things off of a card. So I think they did a better job there, but I still want back the good jury questioning segment. It's just this one worked because Taylor was there. But imagine if it was Monty and Turner, this would have been a nightmare.
This would have ended up on Podium's worst jury speeches.
And I do think so. Like talking about Monty's answers as well. I found a few points where I felt like Monty, not that I think he could have won here, especially up against Taylor, but when you only have 3 questions to answer and in 2 of them, you give the exact same answer, you are not making efficient use of your time at all whatsoever. The 3rd question that he answered was that his best move was taking Taylor to the final 2, which everyone on the jury clearly thought was a mistake. And then he doubled down on it in his final speech. This was just a mess from a lot of different angles. Now, I do think that he was okay in his final speech. He called out a couple of specific things. He made a joke at the end. And I think that under normal circumstances, this would have functioned as a good enough speech that if they had come in, if he had been up against Turner, they come in already wanting to vote Monty, he gives them enough of that. But also, the question from Turner, the extra bonus question, he gets an extra question because Turner's there. Why did you cut me? His speech when he cut Turner was fine. Big move. I need it on my resume. You're the bigger threat. That's all he needs to do. He then gets into the Brittany style of like, well, you see, you had made a final 2 with Kyle. So basically what that means is that we didn't make our final 2 until after that. And before that, I made a final 4 with Taylor. And so I kind of felt justified because you had made that final 2 with Kyle. And, it's kind of your fault that I cut you. If you think about it, it wasn't my fault at all. And just like, oof, that was not good.
Yeah, you need to be saying that you were such a strong person. I couldn't have won against you or whatever. Say that sort of stuff. You build the jurors up.
Your game was fire, bro.
Down. Yeah. That was such a bad one. I feel like in the future, all house guests, or all people who want to win or whatever, should go to politician school or whatever and learn how to just
I wish politicians would go to politician school.
Just pivot, politicians don't ever answer the question. Politicians don't ever answer the question that's asked of them. They say one thing, one little comment, and then immediately pivot to whatever they want to talk about. And that's what they should be doing is, saying okay, here are the points I want to get across in the juror questioning. Like, just treat it as additional time for your speech.
And that's what Taylor did.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. She was, I mean, like, she started talking about like women empowerment and like working for like women.
What was your,
that had nothing to do with that.
What was your biggest move?
Fantastic.
She gave some lip service to it and then shifted immediately to women empowerment and got Alyssa like,
Exactly. It's all about the pivot.
Yeah.
You just talk about whatever you want to talk about. And the people, I mean, I just went along with it. I wasn't sitting there at the time being like, but she's not really answering the question though. I was just like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I like that. and that's what the jury was doing. They were sitting there nodding their heads. So it doesn't matter what the jury questions are, especially now that we know the way that it's done is just reading off a random question that production has given them. It's not an actual, like, I need an answer to this because this is like, you know, like Survivor style. This is just pure, you know, production feeding these random questions that don't really mean anything, that are always about the same. It's always like, what was your biggest move? Like, what did you, like, why do you deserve this win or whatever? And they just need to just talk about whatever they want to talk about instead. Just forget the questions.
And sorry, Taylor's pointing out using the sword line. I'm not a shield, I'm a sword. That was Joseph's line that he told her earlier in the season. You're not a shield, you're a sword. Calling that out. Like, if there was any doubt that she would get Joseph's vote, when she says that and you see like the proud look on Joseph's face, like that was such a clever way of getting in those moments that we are very that we praise a lot, that is like addressing each jury member, like being able to put that notch there. Pointing out Indy wearing her dress, the one that she left for her on finale night. Like, there were lots of little things that you could have easily missed if you weren't like paying attention.
Yeah, she complimented like every single juror before she got into her answer and then pivoted. She just prepared. She over prepared. I really feel like Monty didn't. Taran would have to tell us, but I don't know if he had been practicing his speech over the last few days. I know he was probably more worried about the whole cutting Turner part of it. I think he was more worried about that than the actual final two, but he clearly wasn't prepared. I think he had maybe one or two things that he had prepared, and then the rest of it was just like he had nothing, because Taran said it, he was immune from final six on. He didn't say that. And in an argument where you're leaning so heavily on your competitions, I really truly think he just thought his competition wins were gonna hold him through. He didn't even make the best point of it. Really, he, you know, you just count the number of competitions. That's not impressive when you have somebody on the jury who broke the competition record. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, I don't know. It was Monty really just each question kind of got worse and worse as it went along, and then never say honest, clean game in Big Brother. Never say I played an honest and clean game in Big Brother.
Or
especially
any
when
of these shows.
Turner.
Yeah, that's just like just code word for boring.
Yep, that's what the Zingbot said. So that I think it's worth bringing up. So that Monty was talking about the trying to keep Brittany and Michael safe. He told that story a couple times. Friend of the podcast, Zach Wertenberger, had tweeted, Monty keeps bringing up this random moment with Daniel and Nicole, and I have no effing clue what he's talking about.
Yeah, that was a problem. And here's the thing. It wasn't a bad answer to the questions that were being asked. His biggest blunder was that moment where he tried to get Daniel to not use the veto. That's when his game blew up. That's when I talked about it in his final 3 game recap. That's when he lost all of his connection to the other side. He lost all credibility, and he ended up kind of just like sitting back for a little while because he had no way to work the other side like Joseph was. But he was trying to reframe that situation as, it was my mistake for not doing that sooner to protect Michael and Brittany, because the move was to protect Michael and Brittany. That's the reason why they didn't want Daniel to use the veto, because of the festy bestie twist. But I'm trying, like, I'm explaining it now, and it's still like, you're probably like, wait a minute, I'm not entirely like trying to explain that whole situation is so weird, especially for people that weren't in it at the time. But you know, the basics of it are that getting Alyssa out instead of Nicole that week would have meant that they could convince Indy to join the Michael and Brittany Festy Bestie group. And the way that Michael actually convinced Monty to make that move was by saying, hey, if you get out Nicole, we don't know how the Festy Bestie twist works. For all we know, you're going to lose Terrence from your group. Taylor's going to have to pick Terrence out of your group from the three of you to make a new group of two. And that's when Monty went, oh, wow, that would affect me. Now I agree with your plan. And so like they tried to do this last minute thing and it damaged his game. And so he's trying to reframe that as like, I should have protected Michael and Brittany sooner, so on and so forth. But it's just such a mess of a like weird situation to try and be explaining. He clearly didn't like think through how he wanted to convey that message as his biggest blunder and as like one of the moves that he made in the game and all of that. And it just, I don't think it really landed very well because I can't imagine that most of the jury even really fully understood what he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Mari did put it best where I think to Monty, the hard part of this endgame was cutting Turner, whereas the hard part truly was this 1v1 battle of verbal battle with Taylor. And I think the answers that he was giving showed that. But also, Taran, you're not wrong. This is such a specific thing to explain it in the way he wants, and for it to give out the emotion and the feeling that he wants other people to get. It is complicated. Like, you're not going to be able to do that in a concise 2-minute answer. You're just not. Mm-hmm. So picking literally anything else, everyone on the panel has talked about how make the question what you want it to be asked, not what is asked of you. He could have done that and done way better, but alas, here we are.
Well, I think he was really pandering for the Michael and Brittany votes really hard. I think he must have identified them as potential swings that could have gone for Taylor. And I think he thought he was going to win them over, talking about how he really put his neck out on the line to try to protect them in the game. And it really cost him.
If he wanted Brittany's vote, then he should have handled a lot of those conversations differently before she left the game.
Like that's the thing. These are two votes that if you know you're in issues, you should just forget about and focus on the other votes. Because to try and twist these two votes is going to be your hardest feat, and you're not going to have enough time to do that in this moment.
And I feel like he could have articulated that moment a little bit better in a sense of that was the moment he essentially took the foot off the gas, truly, to me. At least that's what I feel like. When Alyssa and Indy and the rest of the house turned on him, yes, he was kind of a shield in a sense of like the other side of the house really wanted him gone. And he made no effort to try and change their minds. While they were going after Monty during Michael's HOH week, the HOH week he got Daniel out, everybody wanted, you know, the noms to stay the same and try to get Monty out. Monty knew this, and Monty decided to not talk to them. He literally is just like, I got the leftovers, I'm good. Contrast that to Taylor, who every time she's been put on the block and she thinks people are coming after her, she goes up to them and she tries to reinforce that connection. So Monty could have tried and put it a different way and saying like, you know, that was his biggest mistake, not being as social. He relied too much on the leftovers, like stuff like that. Maybe spin it like that. Like I was so loyal to my group that I let the rest of my social game falter. I think that's a more genuine response, and it'll actually make people appreciate what he's saying as opposed to this weird roundabout situation that everybody's confused about, that also seems like you're just trying to like kiss Brittany and Michael's, you know, to suck up to them. So he really just did not prepare.
Yeah. And I thought of this as I was talking about it. I'm trying to quickly double check. But Monty, I believe is the first person in Big Brother US to win out from Final Six. First person to ever do it. It's only happened from 5, I believe, until this point. Lots of people have done it. Jackson won from 5. Remember, he was immune in the double eviction at Final Six. He was vulnerable in the double eviction at Final Six. And they chose to take out Christy. So first person to ever do it. And loses 8-1. And I mean, this is again just sort of like I think, you know, knowledge of the show, kind of like not being there, can't really articulate that to the jury, unfortunately. But
in Jackson's speech, didn't he say he couldn't have been evicted from Final 8 on?
He might have, but he was wrong.
I thought that's what he said. Yeah, he was wrong. Lie. That's fine
Mari,
too.
if you remember Jackson's speech, bless you. That is my memory.
Yeah,
could
I don't
never.
remember
That was one
like
sticking
anything.
point I do remember of that. Like because I remember like when Taran just said it on this podcast. That's something that sticks out. He was saying I could not have been voted out from Final 8 on. I could have sworn that's what Jackson said, but I trust the robot. So
let's touch on some other things from the episode. We saw not one but two parts of the HOH in the first half hour. I felt this was especially like the first one pretty tedious to be watching. The endurance comp, riding around, hold on to your wiener. That we got this tonight.
Look, America, if I gotta get slapped in the face by a giant wiener to win $750,000, I'll do it.
All right.
They used that one sound effect to filth. Like that was 800 times the same sound effect in the background of that wiener comp.
Yeah.
And let me just also do my obligation here to complain about these competitions. Not only was the wiener just like ridiculous and goofy and not epic, but it was also incredibly upper body focused. This was the worst possible kind of endurance competition for Taylor. I genuinely believe that the only reason Monty lost is because I think he had the wrong strategy, hugging the whole thing all the way around. He had no shock absorption for his grip. So he, eventually the grip just gave. I think that's the only reason he lost. I think he would have wrecked Turner in that competition if he had been holding further out. So very upper body focused part one, very strange that they did that. And then even in part two, and granted, this is a lesser known sort of like disadvantage to the previous one, but even just that little zip line, I don't know if people were like watching, but Monty was going across that gap much faster than Taylor. He was a lot heavier. He's able to get a lot more weight and momentum swinging himself across that zip line than Taylor is, who is significantly lighter than him. And when she loses by 23 seconds, like that's where those little things really end up mattering. And so I really just feel like they need to like focus a lot more on these little bits of like advantage and disadvantage for certain body types, because I think it has been very significant. We've talked about it. Like men are just winning competitions at a significantly higher rate than women, especially in recent years. And I think that like there's a lot of things that you can do to help make it more equal, like it was in the first 7 years of the show.
Yeah, make it fair.
The first few comps, because I remember tweeting this out, I feel like the first few comps, like the first like month of the show, seemed a lot more equitable, and then they just kind of like sunk right back to what they usually do near the end.
Yeah, I mean, I think endgame comps are definitely a part of it. But I think like I do think that they made some progress this season. I do. I think that like there were more competitions that were more equitable, but then the result was still a very significant percentage of the competitions were won by men this season. And I think that like this season may be a little bit like off because we have Michael, who is perhaps the greatest competition player of all time, competing in this season. But like roughly, I think over 80% of the competitions this season were won by men. And if you look at a season like the previous one where Janelle set her record in All Stars, even in a season like that, only 59% of the competitions were won by women. It was still a lot more equal than the 80+% of this season with Michael involved. So, there has been a significant shift in these competitions, even if they are getting a slight bit more equitable. These little tiny bits of advantage that tend toward like the men in general, they add up over time. They add up over the course of a bunch of competitions, and this is the result.
Okay, so we had the jury roundtable as well. They brought Dr. Will back for this, but I was kind of let down by the jury roundtable. Like, I feel like that we've seen fireworks certainly in jury roundtables in the past. I thought that this one was very calm. I feel like that there wasn't that much conflict. And I also feel like that the origin of like Dr. Will coming in was that in Big Brother 15, a season in some ways with some parallels to Big Brother 24, you had a group of house guests that the audience was not super fond of. And it was like, Dr. Will's coming into the jury roundtable and he's going to give them a piece of his mind. But I mean, Dr. Will is running the same programming as Julie Chen Moonves at this point.
Yes.
I don't think he said one thing that was even like joke-ish.
Yeah, literally. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I absolutely love Dr. Will. Huge piece of Big Brother history, blah, blah, blah. But I just think either he's not watching the show and has no idea what's going on. So he's just extremely like, okay, well, anyone could win. What do you think of this person's game? What do you think of this person's game? What do you think of this? And basically just asking the most basic questions. Or CBS has been like, production has been like, okay, like, here are the questions you're going to ask. Please don't stray from this. Like, we just want to get through this. And that's like, that's all they're letting him do because they don't want to like influence the jury or whatever. But I think if it's either way, I think honestly, like at this point, I would much prefer to see someone who actually is invested and involved in the show. Like see, like, for example, Tiffany. I would have loved to see her host the jury roundtable. So I think, I think the Dr. Will hosting the jury roundtable has run its course because the excitement that came from that was like seeing him give his take or like kind of like ask the questions in a Dr. Will-ish way and bring that sort of like star quality to the jury roundtable. But at this point, we literally could have had no one asking the questions and just had a house guest be like, well, what about Taylor's game? And then have them talk from there. Like that would have been just the same. So I'm over the Dr. Will roundtable, unfortunately.
Imagine a world where they spend the 2 hours that they have for the finale on jury questions and a jury roundtable where Dr. Will graces us with his presence in the diary room and is giving his thoughts on like these jurors and like how dumb they are and like how bitter they are and like giving us some classic. I mean, Dr. Will in the diary room is what made Dr. Will who he is. Why are we not playing into that? Why are we not putting him in the place where he is the strongest? Even if he does have to be robotic at the jury roundtable itself. And Melissa, I think it's a combination of both. I think both he's not watching the season and two, they're giving him a script to read. But then at least we get like an interview with him afterward that like pops up usually like, oh, there was a big fight in the jury roundtable, and like here we go, we'll get ready. Like give us that in the diary room. It would be so much fun to see Dr. Will in the diary room, like roasting on these people that we've been watching all season long, giving us his thoughts on what he thinks, who he thinks should win the game. Like that would be so much fun.
As long as he's watching the show, though, I feel like if we just get him, and that's the thing is, I feel like if we just had him in the diary room, like it would just be him being like, this has been a great season and anyone could win. It's up to the jury. It's like very like, yeah, this could apply to anything. And I feel like if the person's not watching the season, like what's the point of bringing anyone in? Like there are, Hannah, Tiffany, all these people who are recent on the show, like recently have played, are very, the fan base is familiar with them. The players are familiar with them. Like that would be a fun thing to have them host the roundtable. And then you've got excitement from the fact that like, oh my God, it's Hannah and Tiffany or whatever. And then you've also got excitement for us because we know how invested they've been this season. We know that they would ask like pointed questions or push back if someone was saying something that didn't make any sense. Like, I just feel like that we're missing that element for sure.
I feel like the thing is though, we need to like, moving forward, I'm just going to look at it when they say jury roundtable with anybody. But assuming Dr. I'm just going to see it as host number 3 because I think it's going to be cue cards only. Nothing else matters because the truth is Dr. Will still does have personality. I mean, I remember him in the backyard, like, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago doing doing the backyard interviews?
Oh, yeah.
That was a magical night watching those live go by one by one. So I know he's got that. But even if he had some interesting stuff to say here, I don't think they were going to show it to us. I think they whittled it down to whatever 4 minutes they could squish in and push out. So next year, Big Brother 25, host number 3, do your worst, because that's how I'm going to see it. I can't look at it and be like, this is Dr. Will, the charismatic man who did like these 2 seasons of the game.
Yeah, and that's the main problem is that like even Big Brother Canada managed to sanitize Anthony when he came to host the jury roundtable. Like that was like I was so excited to see him, and then we got like 30 seconds. Like I think the problem is that like we're not even really exploring this and giving them a space to speak their mind. So I think it needs to be a combination of like somebody that is watching the show and also like give them a spot in the show to really like give us their real thoughts on their experience.
Yeah, we want to hear their thoughts. Like that's why we want them to be there, not just so we can see them read off cue cards. Like we want to hear what they have to say. These players that we love, we want to hear their take on it. So yeah, either bring someone in and let them talk about it, or like forget it. I don't know.
I wish there was a way we could get a longer jury roundtable segment on the recap of the recap episode. I know the timing doesn't quite work with the 4th person evicted. And the turnaround for the editing, but like that would be the ideal. Like we've been talking for so many years, like we need more time, not just with the jury roundtable, like seeing the jurors' opinions before the speeches, but also with the speeches and the questioning itself. So I really wish they would kind of just change something up, because you had these people sit in a house for a week doing absolutely nothing. Like this could have been planned so much better. I feel like I don't know. Even if I don't know if that means we don't get feeds all the way up till finale, but I feel like we had so much time that we could probably have spent doing something better than this.
Can I ask a question from the jury roundtable? So there was one point, Indy said something. I am very unclear on what she said. I want to play the clip, and hopefully somebody can tell me what she said.
Sweetheart, put Daniel to scream at me, so you're gonna say he's running.
Yeah, so Indy was basically saying like Taylor handled that with grace, because if Daniel had yelled at her, he would have been run screaming because she would have handled.
She would have retaliated.
Yeah. Let me see.
Sweetheart, put Daniel to scream at me, so you're gonna say he's running.
Oh, okay.
I told him.
Scream at me, you're gonna see him running. I hear it. But
I thought she said cream cheese, and I was like, what?
Cream cheese?
Yeah, listen.
Where did that happen?
Sweetheart, put Daniel to scream at me, so you're gonna say he's running.
Scream at me.
I don't
scream.
Were you having a hankering for a bagel,
play it again.
Rob?
Put Daniel cheese.
Sweetheart, put Daniel to scream at me, so you're gonna say he's running.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Y'all were a little peckish. You were hungry.
Yeah.
Trying to get a
Maybe.
snack.
Honestly,
I got what she was saying.
Okay.
She was acknowledging Taylor's patience, and that I love that for her.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about the final part 3 of the final HOH. Okay. First off, we get this format, which we've seen for the last, 4 or 5 seasons of everybody comes out and does their thing. What was I was unclear as what this was supposed to be. Of like, sometimes it's like, oh, everybody has a podcast, or everybody is doing like, what was the theme of this?
Future
they've
business
given up
endeavors.
on themes. They haven't been doing themes. They've
They
just
had like
been,
booths.
references, just references to like different like aspects of their personality or experiences they had.
It was also like the individual ones didn't make sense. It was like, I'm gonna have a muffin store and I'm gonna sell. I was first on the block. Like it was like, how are you selling that? I don't understand how that's something you're selling.
I think
it doesn't make any sense.
It was called Jury Fest. I think the idea was that these are all like kiosks in this festival that they're each got their own product
Joseph
or service.
Was like a police officer.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, security. He was security for the fest.
Oh yeah, there we go.
And Michael's was like, hi, I'm Michael, and I have carnival games, and I win everything. Here are all my accomplishments, like losing the 4th veto I played it. That's not an accomplishment. Okay.
Yeah,
it's so annoying.
very strange.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That I feel like that some of these questions just seem like almost impossible. How do you know what order everybody went out of like these competitions?
It's actually very consistent. Every season they ask the main things that you need to know is the order of competition wins, the amount of competition wins for each person, basically.
Yes. Okay, I get that.
Amount of times they've been on the block, order of times they've been on the block, vote count against them each time. And then in addition to all of that, you need to know what order people were eliminated in competitions. That's just very consistently part of the thing. And the thing is, though, that most of the time, you really only need to know most of that.
One or two,
because all you need is one or two of the three. If you know two of the three, then you know all three. Because if you know two are true, then the other one has to be false. And if you know that one is false, then that's the only one you need to know. And even if you know one, as Turner found out, you can then just guess 50-50 on the other two and hope for the best. I do think that this season, especially because I did go back to a couple of previous seasons to look at these to see how much Turner's recent studying would help him in this competition. And I do think that this season was a bit more difficult than it normally is. There's normally not, there was at least one where all three questions or all three facts were like order of elimination in a competition, which is like three like really tricky ones in a row. So that's not very usual from my experience looking back at the previous things. But I think for the most part, it's a pretty doable competition. This version of it, we saw 4 total incorrect answers. That ties for the most amount of incorrect answers that have ever been have happened on this competition. Tyler and Casey both got collectively 4 wrong. They tied at 6 before they went to the tiebreaker, and that was the first time they'd ever done this competition before, so they were not prepared for it. Granted, neither of Monty or Turner were super prepared for it either, because they weren't really studying like order of elimination in competition. So that's just part of you. You got to study it.
So I just want to say, I got a lot of these right. Only because
Mari, nobody likes to show off.
I'm showing off. I got a lot of these right only because Michael won so much. It kind of made it really easy to get the other ones, the other questions. Like, I was so happy for myself. I think I missed like 2.
Yeah. Were you bussing or discussing?
Was that bussing or discussing?
I don't know, because I don't understand watered down AAV. So
I love that. When they were like the color for that one comp from Michael, his lane was orange. I was like, yeah, okay. Unless you've lived in this house, you're not gonna. You shouldn't know that. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing, Rob, is that they have nothing else going on. They should know all of this. We are watching 18,000 shows. We get a pass.
I thought the one that I thought was kind of an unfair question was the one where about Alyssa, and the lie was that she lost 19 comps. It was like, actually, she lost 18 comps. Come on. That's a little ridiculous.
Not really. They should know this. You should know how many times somebody played in a veto comp, and then in addition to that, you just start counting HOH and veto. And did she win any HOHs? In which case, she wouldn't have played in one of the HOHs. She didn't win any HOHs, so she played in all the HOHs, and then you count how many times she played in the veto. And since she lost every competition she played, then
Jeez. That is so hard.
That's a lot.
I
guess it's easy.
Look,
I guess
you have literally 82 days to do nothing but study and prep for it.
I just feel like it's so hard to remember, like, without any way to write it down or any way to, you just have to be like, okay, well, all these people played in the competition. This is the order that people got out. This is the question that they got wrong. Like, there's just so much information that's involved all at the same time while you're trying to like live in a house and play the game.
Think about like if you go through a semester of like college, say, you take a bunch of classes, you take a bunch of tests at the end of the semester, like you're answering a ton of questions about what you learned over the last 100 days. And
so you have paper to have written all that down. You have notes.
Yeah, but Melissa, you're not writing down notes on the shows you're watching, right? Like I've watched 4 or 5 episodes.
I don't remember a thing.
Well, I mean, that's not on me to tell you.
I mean, in law school, for example, it's open book, open note.
See,
That's
it's
what-
not that impressive.
All right, okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Hey, the bar exam is not. So I will say that, but at the same time, the entire time I'm studying, I'm writing down everything. Like to study, I study visually. So like
People have their little systems. They have calendars, little like
those make no
M&Ms.
sense to me, all those little M&M like things or whatever, the Skittles, like those are, I look at those on the thing and I'm like, how can you tell what any of this means? It's just like 7 colors. I just, for me, like it would be so hard for me. Like I don't know, it's too hard.
Guess who I'm taking to the final 3, Melissa?
Exactly.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, boom, snowed. I know it all. I'm very good at studying. Ha, I win.
Yeah. Okay.
She got me. She got me.
She tailored you. Okay.
I
All right.
tailored you.
So ultimately, Monty wins the final HOH. Ironically, if he loses the final HOH, he wins the game.
He wins.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's one of those like woo situations, you know?
Yeah. He needed to protect himself from himself. It's the only way he could have done it. Yeah. And so, okay, he wins, and then he has to make his decision, and then he ultimately says that, the only thing I'm missing is a big move. I knew it. Once he said I got to make a big move. Okay, sorry.
He practiced that speech. So like obviously like anything can happen in these moments, especially like the feeds have been down for the last 7 hours or whatever, 8 hours. But yeah, when he had practiced the speech of my resume, the second he said resume, I was like, boom, done. Like we got it. It's over.
Yeah. All right. So Turner comes out of the house and goes and sits down with Julie. And he sits down in the chair, and Julie, first question is,
Was that bussin' or discussin'?
First off, okay, all right, but the question doesn't even make any sense. He just got voted out. How in the world was that bussin'?
Yeah, Julie, me losing a chance to win at least 75K.
You just lost. Your friend said in the back. Was that good or bad?
Yeah.
And can we not be encouraging this from Turner? Like now Turner's like, oh, that's my whole thing now, I guess. Hey,
What?
Julie, it's bussin'.
Yeah.
Like,
Was it mid?
Oh no. Oh no.
Julie,
This is
the question has to make sense in context. Take it from us. We try to work these stupid jokes into all the exit interviews. You have to ask a question that it makes sense to say the thing.
This is like at least as bad as in The Amazing Race when they cut to Derek's eviction last season and they had to play Julie saying, by a vote of whatever to whatever, Baby D, you have been evicted from the Big Brother house. I was like, oh, poor Derek. Even in The Amazing Race, he's getting this now.
So, all right, she talks to Turner, and nothing too exciting here with Turner, right?
No.
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 I mean, I think it kind of
Monty's a
gave
cool
us
guy.
it gave us kind of an insight into how he might do in the questioning and the speeches and stuff like that. He kind of didn't really have great answers for anything, and but I did appreciate that he respected Monty's move and wasn't super bitter and was just like, yeah, I get why he did that.
Yeah, Julie told Turner that he handled his eviction with grace, and I was actually Julie showed a lot of restraint and didn't talk about how much she loves Grace. But I just feel like on an overall note, I don't think there was one time in Big Brother 24 where Julie seemed like she was that far off script.
Yeah, no, especially compared to last season. I think she's reeled it in quite a bit. Yeah.
When Claire was a child of
Oh my
God,
gosh.
she loves Grace. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I think they might have had a meeting about that before BB24.
Objectively speaking, BB23's cast was just miles and away better than this one. So I don't blame her. And let's be real. Julie was not. I don't think Julie was watching this season.
She was checked out. Her and Dr. Will. Out. Yeah. Yeah. We did get an announcement tonight. Big Brother 25 has been renewed.
Woohoo!
Boom. 25 seasons, but let's be real, it's 24. We don't count one.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay. And so, yeah, that was the big news at the end of the show. Taylor made history, won the game, and America's favorite player. Probably a little bit of a surprise that the top 3 finalists were Taylor, Michael, and freaking Kyle.
Yep. Rob, I told you on the Q&A, I said, watch out for Kyle here.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of, I have to imagine a lot of this is a reaction to the edit that they gave us about the whole situation.
Yes.
However, that I would love to know what the vote totals were, because I suspect it was probably like, 94% to, 3% to 1%. And then everybody else had like less than 1%.
Yeah, I went investigating into the Big Brother Facebook group because I'm not normal, and I was just curious to see what they were saying. I know it's a big mistake. I don't know why I do it to myself. And far and wide, there were quite a few people that are like, I'm voting Michael. He deserves it because he should have won because he won all these comps. And then a lot of people being like, no, F Michael. Michael did this thing to Kyle. We don't like him. And then I was seeing people saying, I'm going to vote Kyle. He went through a lot for no reason, blah, blah, blah. And then people saying, I'm not voting Kyle. He threw his game away for a showmance. And I was like, that's a weird logic to follow.
Yeah. Well, and how about that freaking Kyle and Alyssa?
Is this a surprise anybody?
Love conquers all.
Love. Yes. Okay.
I mean, this is pretty much where they left it off. She basically told him, like, I need to watch the season before I move forward with this.
Yeah, but he has that. He's like, Julie, I love this woman. She's like, oh, he has my heart. Like, okay.
Nobody's shocked. I'm not shocked. I'm shocked that she gave them the 20-second breakup clip. If anything,
20 seconds. That's pretty good for them.
That's 2.
Yeah, they were still doing it in the house before he left. We're not shocked.
Yeah, they had a lot of long conversations in the jury house.
Long conversations.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else from this 2 hours of Big Brother that we should mention here tonight?
Only because Chappelle has completely hijacked the chat. He wants to know, how does the chapstick taste, Pooya?
I'm fine. No, again, I'm doing good.
Was it flavored? Was it just...
Yeah, was it flavored?
Pomegranate passion.
Oh, sounds delicious.
Yes. That was good.
It was very quick. It felt like it looked like it was a lot shorter than like the container. Are we getting like scammed on the amount of chapstick in there?
Listen, look, see this twist? It's not twisting out.
Not by you, Pooya. I mean, the manufacturers are they?
A new chapstick or not?
Pooya's like, I'll do another one.
Yeah.
Is it all natural? Hopefully, it's all natural.
Of course, I was smarter than that. I went with one that would not destroy me. But we're good. I'm feeling great.
Okay. Did you ever find out how many calories in a chapstick?
I thought we Googled it, like 9. Not a lot.
Okay.
One other thing I noticed about the finale was at the end, where after Taylor won and the people are celebrating, she seemed to have a long conversation with Nicole, or rather Nicole was having a long conversation with her. And I don't know what was said, but then they had a big hug afterwards. So I feel like Nicole probably apologized. I don't want to like put words in her mouth, but it did seem like it was more like a reconciliation and like a conciliatory conversation. So I'd be interested to hear what was said, but I thought that was interesting.
This is pure hearsay. I saw somebody say that they thought Taylor was asking about Nicole's mom, as if she was okay. I have no idea if that's true.
Are they a lip reader?
I believe that. I would absolutely believe that. Taylor would ask about that. But yeah, I don't know. I'd be interested to hear what that was about.
Gator in the chat says she was asking Taylor to do the Amazing Race. I can't imagine that she was apologizing, because I kind of feel like that they would have like had that segment in the show. Like if Nicole mentioned like to a producer she wanted to give Taylor an apology, I think that they would have made that part of the finale. Like I think that they would have gone to her.
I don't know.
Maybe it wasn't like an official thing. Maybe it was just, I think it was more just like, we should talk after this. Like, I'm so like, sorry, not something like, let's have a big moment on TV about this. It was more just like, probably, I mean, I'm just like I'm speculating, but it like seemed to me like Taylor was like, yeah, we'll like, don't worry, we'll talk or something. And then they hugged. But
I mean, I think that's the appropriate way to approach the situation. I mean, first words out of your mouth is like, I'm so sorry, Taylor. Congratulations.
Yeah.
It's about as good as you can do in that moment, I think. So,
okay. All right. So we don't have any updates yet about when we're going to have the chance to talk to any of the finalists. I think it's going to be a quicker press period for the house guests tonight. I think they're just doing a couple of outlets tonight. And I think that even tonight, I think they're only going to talk to a couple of press outlets for about 6 or 7 minutes. So we are aiming to try to get interviews with the finalists at some point later this week. Potentially when they get back home, and hopefully we can have a longer conversation. We'll keep you posted on when we have those for you. Any other closing thoughts on Big Brother 24?
Sorry. Big Brother is the season that should have. Big Brother 24 is a season that should have never happened. We should not still be here. Like, when I tell you, I thought that I was going to close the TV, put down the laptop on week 1 because I could not take the treatment that Taylor got, and to hold on each week being like, you know what? I'm just going to hold on for Taylor. Taylor wants to be here. I'm going to hold on. She literally dragged us all this whole season along with her on this ride so she could finish on top in the winner. And I'm unfortunate that a lot of this had to happen to her particularly, but I do hope that with the shifting of the errors, the shifting of the thinking of the jury, we may start to think the shifting of just treating people with respect in that house. You know, trying to, it's a game. It's always going to be a game, but you do not need to be mean and malicious. We literally saw that with BB23. We saw how the Cookout did a whole game where they were really nice to the people who were not in their alliance. You know, they were more, again, mad at each other than anything. So I hope this just goes to show people that you can play a cutthroat game, you can play a backstabby game, but you do not need to be a mean person while you're doing it. And that to always try and just stop and ask, am what I'm thinking about, am I giving this person a chance? Am I, using my biases to like think about projecting onto other people? I'm just so glad that Taylor, who was the main character throughout for me, takes home the win. And maybe when we go back and we analyze this season years later, that maybe something else will come of it, not just, crowning the first Black woman winner, which is amazing, but maybe just a shift in being able to play the game without going low. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I thought that this season was just, such a great underdog story. You love to see it. You never see it. Usually you'll get the underdog like having a couple wins along the way, but for the most part, they're gone. And then you're left with like an unsatisfying winner. Aside from, these past couple seasons, BB Can 10 and this one, I feel like I've been very satisfied. So I feel just so happy. I was so excited when Taylor won. I think she absolutely deserved it. I think that it's just such a great ending to this season that was at times extremely hard to watch. So I'm just so happy that this is the way that it's turned out, and she gets this redemption arc, and I loved it. Absolutely.
Yeah, It's an incredible ride. I think that just overall the way that we look back at the season, where that there were certainly like painful moments along the way, but just like in entirety, like this season, maybe more so than any other season of the show, is like one person's story. And I think it's going to be very interesting to go back and watch this season and just have people go on this ride from like where it started to how it started, how it's going, and it worked out really well for Taylor in the end. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine that like this is probably a season that it's going to be hard to really experience. So I think probably going to be kind of one of those you had to be there's mostly because the editing really did not get into as much as it should have in Taylor's journey, because it was, I think, a little too uncomfortable for the show and their comfort level. But man, being here and experiencing it the whole way through was such a journey. I mean, these seasons for me especially, but I know for a lot of people, because it was for me even before I was podcasting, like really is like you're driving into a tunnel and you're just kind of like in it for a while. And, it feels like yesterday that the cast dropped a day before the season started. And we didn't even know who Joseph was yet because he wasn't on the cast yet. We came in and it was just looking so dire so quickly. It's been such a roller coaster through this whole experience of the season. Very low lows, very high highs, and just like the amount of people that have been here and engaged with us on these podcasts, with me on Twitch, has like been so much so wonderful. We've been like seeing so many more people engaged in the season, following along with the story, and caring about the outcome. I can't remember the last time that like there was so much emotion around a winner. I think that like collectively there were so many people that were nervous like all day today, maybe all weekend, thinking about like, oh my God, could this happen? Is it real? I mean, if you took a time machine on day 5 and you brought us to now, you'd be like, all right, like great fan fiction, but that doesn't happen in Big Brother. But it has happened in Big Brother. And it's why I love this show so much. Like the fact that we can have such low lows for so long, it brings us to these moments where you do have these amazing moments of resilience, of like sticking in there and celebrating what it means for somebody like Taylor to win this game in the way that she did. It's been such an awesome journey for me, and I'm so grateful for everyone that joins us through every season, through thick and thin, through the bad times, through the good times. It's just been so great, and I couldn't be more thankful for what I do and for everyone that allows me to do it.
Yeah. And Taran, for you, day in and day out, I know that I can tell you how much I appreciate you. And I know how many the listeners appreciate you. Just your dedication to helping so many of us know what's going on in this crazy house.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And
Queen's coming to get what's hers.
Are you the queen in that?
Rob, that was my original joke. The clip, it keeps going. You say, what are you up to? And I say, well, tomorrow morning.
Queen's coming to get what's hers.
Okay. All right. Let me tell you about what else is going on here on Rob as a Podcast. All right. This month, we got something pretty special going on. We are trying to tell people, spread the word about Rob has a podcast. And for each new subscriber, we're adding here in September, all of our new subscribers, we're going to be donating $2 for each new subscriber to the Boys and Girls Club of America. For each new subscriber, each device counts. Go to robswebsite.com/subscribe. There's a little show called Survivor that just came back, The Amazing Race as well. So a lot of great stuff happening. So we want to let everybody know about everything that we're doing. So head on over to robhasawebsite.com/subscribe or search for RHAP wherever you get your podcasts. All right. Then, oh boy, we've got a ton of Survivor podcasts coming your way in our Survivor podcast feed. Taran, are you going to stock watch yet?
We're going to do it. At some point before the next episode of Survivor, I will be talking about the premiere of Survivor 43. If you want to continue along this TV journey with me in the off season, then you can start with the Survivor coverage I'm going to be doing all season long. Going to have a good time with that. I may also have a special guest to talk about Survivor with me at some point soon as well. So keep an eye out for that. But yes, stock watch on the Survivor season 43 going to happen. We're going to make it work.
All right. So check out all the Survivor podcast coverage from over the weekend. Of course, The Amazing Race is back. We recapped the premiere. If you missed it, still time to check out The Amazing Race 34 premiere. Derek X and Claire are there. And then also you check out my exit interview with the first team out on The Amazing Race. This weekend over on Rob and Akiva Need a Podcast, Jenny Autumn came back for Rob and Akiva Need a Catchphrase 2. We tried on a bunch of 32 and more than that even new catchphrases for Rob and Akiva Need a Podcast. A lot of fun with Jenny. Find out if we found anything that we can actually use as a new catchphrase for RHAP. Pooya, what's coming up over on 90 Day Fiance with Soulja Boy and Kimberly?
Well, I did have the Lord of the Chat, Chappelle himself, on with me this past week for 90 Day. It was a lot of fun, Rob. He got to experience Kimberly and Usman for the first time. He got to experience Angela and Michael for the first time.
Yep.
And I'm keeping that trend. This upcoming week, I've got Kirsten on with me to go through the exact same motions so that I can find out what her thoughts are on these two. It's been a very fun season of Happily Ever After, 4 episodes in.
Yeah. By the way, the king of the chat and I talked today about the Netflix VIP event. Melissa, if you love movies, you got to know what's coming up on Netflix. We watched 2 hours of this we watched, so you don't have to. Check that out on Nothing But Netflix this week. Okay? And Pooya, Masked Singer.
Yes, Masked Singer season 8 is underway. They've changed the format. We had 4 performers this first week. 3 of them are getting unmasked. 2 of them got unmasked in that episode. 1 in the following week. It's wild. We're figuring it out at the same time as everyone else. So come through and listen to me and Liana talk about this wild show that should have probably stopped long ago. But as long as it's going on, we'll be there to poke at it.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. All right. And then Mari, I know it was AEW week over on the Wrestling Wrap Up.
Yes, me and Matt brought on our good friends Ryan Collins and Ari Ferrari, 2 stars of the Survivor Philly show, if you guys are watching that. But this week, me, Matt, Ryan, and Ari talked all things AEW when we recapped the Grand Slam event. So if you want to go listen to us, it was very fun panel. You don't have to watch wrestling, but you can go subscribe to robhasawebsite.com/wrestling feed in order to subscribe to us. So yeah, go check it out. It was it was nuts. It was a good one.
Okay. All right. Check out the Wrestling Wrap Up. And then also what's on Crime Scene.
Yes, so me, the amazing Sarah Carradine, and the grizzly Sasha Joseph. Yes, because she's always on for our really bad murders. So we don't do horrible murders too often, but when we do, it's Sasha Joseph time. So Sasha was on for us to talk about Indian Predator, a docuseries that is currently on Netflix that has 2 installments. It was a great chat. We had so much fun. Again, gruesome subject matter, but great company. Go listen to us rate and review Indian Predator. You can go to robhasawebsite.com/crime feed in order to hear that.
Okay. All right. Then, of course, we got so much going on over at robhasawebsite.com/patron with all of our patron content. Of course, access to a lot of our call-in shows, live shows, much more. robhasawebsite.com/patron. Okay. All right. Melissa, what is coming up for you?
Nothing.
Nothing. Well, yeah. What do you do in the Survivor off season?
I live
Big
my
Brother off-season,
life,
yeah.
I guess. I watch every other like television show ever and every movie, and I, just do my own thing, I guess, and then wait for the next Big Brother season to come around. So yeah, I'll be back for Big Brother, but yeah, I kind of I go off. But yeah,
You have a
social
life.
media. I have a life, yeah.
Yeah.
Like you can follow me on social media and I'll, like be there doing my thing and yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And
good.
Melissa, thank you for being such a good sport tonight. I just want to say that I do have great respect for your career and
Thank
your
you.
colleagues.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
Yes, we are really amazing.
Yeah, I even said that, like I'm like, okay, what a big deal. Like, like he's the lawyer. It's not like he goes to space, but there literally was a guy on Survivor who went to space, and then his whole thing with that he would secretly like tell her, "Did you know I'm an astronaut?" And that annoyed me also. So it doesn't matter.
It could be
I think I just don't like it when people hide their job and then make it a big reveal when they say it.
Yeah, I guess so. Especially if it's like not that impressive or relevant to the
impressive.
show. But yeah, I do think that lawyers have a stigma attached to them as being like liars and being very persuasive or things like that, which are
Yes.
like qualities that make for a good Big Brother player. So I do think that is why they hide it, not necessarily because they're just like, yeah, being a lawyer is so amazing. So I don't know.
All right. Great job tonight, Melissa. Congratulations on winning the draft.
Thank you. This is a big night for me.
Pooya, you're a man of your word. You ate the chapstick. You've eaten the nuggets. You on all the bets you lose, unlike some of the podcasters on this network, that you go through with it.
I deliver, Rob. Call me any delivery app ever. I do not have the reference ready. But yeah, and I will say this right here. Don't expect another wager from me where I got to put something food-wise inside. That is not happening. See, here's the thing.
Nobody asked you to do this.
Here's what's going to happen next time, Rob. We're doing the draft. Amon hesitates on a pick. I'm just going to mute, hands under the legs, and just not say anything. That's
right.
better. I think I made the mistake of Amon's hesitating. Let me spice in the pot. Never again. Not going to happen. But yeah, I feel good. So again, the update, I feel fine right now. Check on me in 2 days. I think I'll be fine.
Okay. All right. Pooya, anything else exciting coming up for you?
Yes. So as we've already mentioned, 90 Day and Masked Singer going on. I will be continuing to stream now with the Big Brother off season upon us 3 times a week on Twitch, twitch.tv/Pooya. Also, we'll be making some content over on the RHAP TikTok. My buddy Phil has already uploaded something tonight. We were working on this over the weekend. Yes, it is the now that's what I call music BB24 edition. We've compiled a bunch of parodies for you to check out. If you were, gonna miss the season or you want to reminisce a little bit, check that out. It's over on TikTok.com/@RobIsAPodcast or just @RobIsAPodcast on TikTok. Part 1 is already on there. Part 2 will probably go up tomorrow. Check that out. And then, if you're looking for me anywhere else, find me on Twitter @Pooyism.
Okay, great job tonight, Pooya. Mari, we heard about wrestling. We heard about crime scene. Anything else fun coming up for you?
Yes, of course. Me, Latanya, and of course Chappelle are covering Atlanta over on post-show recap. So we are back with Earn and the gang in Atlanta for the 4th and final season. So please go check us out. We just put out our 2nd podcast for the 3rd episode, and we're having so much fun.
You do multiple podcasts per episode?
Well, no, the premiere episode, they dropped episode 1 and 2 like back to back.
Got it.
And and then this week it's only, it was the 2nd week, but they dropped the 3rd episode. So 2 podcasts, 3 episodes. It's still time that you can catch up. It's very very easy watch. But go listen to us because we're hilarious. I don't care. So go to postshowrecaps.com/I think Atlanta Pod. But yeah, we're up there. And then you can always follow me on Twitter @MariTalksTooMuch, 2 like the number 2, to know what I am up to.
Okay, Mari, great having you here. Can't wait till we could talk some wrestling again soon.
Yes.
Okay. Great job tonight. All right. Taran, what a long, strange trip this has been.
Truly. So I'm about to sort of come out of the tunnel. Of course, I plan to, of course, do some of these deep dives with some of these players, of course, as we get into the coming week. So still a lot of content for Big Brother to get to. Make sure you're still subscribed and paying attention. Follow me on Twitch or on Twitter at Armstrong Taran, where I'll be tweeting the things out. You can also follow me on Twitch if you go over there and hit that follow button. You'll be notified if I go live. Tomorrow, I'll be talking with Jacob Jones. I have a text from Jacob Jones. He said, seeing you tear up was so cute and pure. Oh, I can't wait to talk with you tomorrow. So if you want to hear more of that, tune in to Twitch tomorrow.
Hey, instant feedback from Jacob.
Yeah, we'll chat about it. I also today wore a shirt that was sent to me by Tiffany on my stream, so you can check that out. It was a little bit of this, maybe.
Whoa.
So. If you're not over there on Twitch, you're missing out. You're missing out is what I'm saying. And of course, the Survivor podcasts, those will be going on. I'm still uploading Among Us videos over on YouTube. Those are very fun over there. I'll also be doing other stuff on Twitch, like a soundbite tournament. We'll see where this one goes.
I'm so bored. I'm so horny.
Will it take the crown?
It's so bad, and she's so hot.
Probably not. We'll see. So check that out. And that's pretty much it. House of the Dragon coverage. I've got to watch that episode at some point tonight. Yeah. So I'll be talking about that on the Book Club podcast tomorrow. So tune in for that as well over on post show recaps. And I think that's about what I've got. So, stick with me here in the off season. We'll have a good time and I'll be back next season.
Thank you all so much for joining us here all season long. And on this recap, we have a supersized recap for the finale. We had the biggest live audience we've ever had for one of these live podcasts. So thank you all so much for turning out for this. I don't know. It's late. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.